ladies and gentlemen, this is Big Dan Dangerous coming to you once again from the Danger Zone. I finally got on the phone the man that we've all been dying to talk to, Micheal Andrews. How you doing, Andrews?
I'm doing all right, man. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. A lot has happened here this past couple months. I mean, your match at Bloodshot, the 100th episode, you finally got your hands on Greg Knight. And not to mention the stuff that's been going on with the Capitalist. I got to get your thoughts. First on your match at Bloodshot.
Well, my match at Bloodshot, I think I was kind of just thrown in last minute. Personally, I think that it was Greg Knight's way of dodging me yet again. I mean, this guy goes around talking that he's the man of your nightmares. He's the one you should fear. He's the one who's got the power there in the CWA. In my opinion, I think that's just his way of trying to instill fear in all of his victims or opponents, whatever you want to call them. Personally, I think that he should have manned up if he really wanted it to put his money where his mouth is and make everybody fear him and make everybody believe that he is the man. I think that he should have stood in the ring with me at Bloodshot and not make me go through night terror. I mean, it is what it is. He's the commissioner. He can do what he wants. But personally, I think that was kind of just a tactic to avoid me yet again.
All right, but you did eventually get your hands on him at the 100th episode in a street fight. That was a very brutal match, my friend.
Yeah, I went through Night Terror at Nightmare, Bloodshot. I actually fought him at Nightmare a couple years ago. Kind of confusing, but no, I did what I had to do. I got through Night Terror at Bloodshot, and then I went ahead and I got RBK's approval, and he said, you know what, I'm going to be there at the 100th Extreme, and if you want Greg Knight, you got Greg Knight. So that match was pretty much going to happen no matter what, and you know what? Greg Knight likes to claim that he's hardcore, and I'll give it to the man. I mean, the man can dish out a beating, and I think that's where he belongs, is in those hardcore type matches, because that's where he's really going to do the most damage to his opponents. So you know what? He wanted a street fight. I gave him a street fight, and I brought that fight to the table. And although I did have RBK to ringside, because you know someone's going to come out from the entity, which at this time it was Enigma.
Of course.
I think that I gave Greg a run for his money, and at this point, I can't necessarily say that it's all over between him and I, because you know this guy had me for 3 months against my will, treating me like a prisoner, and that's not easily forgotten. So no, as far as this being over, I don't know, but I really think I got my point across at the 100th Extreme.
Well, at the 100th Extreme, you were also thrown into a title match. Were you even ready for that? I mean, after going through that street fight with Greg Knight, then thrown into this match against a Capitalist member, nonetheless, where you know they have stuff up their sleeve, were you even prepared at all for that?
No. To be honest, no, I was not. I think RBK has got his head so wrapped around this whole capitalist thing, and you know I do too. No one expected them to come back. Tony Taylor has visions for the CWA that I guess only Tony Taylor has, and he's going to need an army of people behind him. That army is now the new capitalists. But I think RBK, like I said, he has his head spun around this so much that he decided that we're going to hurt them by taking their title away from them. The CWA title being obviously the big prize around here. And, you know, I held it a few times. The only one to hold it 3 times. And I think that he thought I was his man to go in there and take it back from Darren Stryker. And, you know, what am I going to say? I mean, I was kind of on the spot. We went out to the ring. He announced it in front of everybody. I mean, I'm not going to sit there and say, no, I'm not ready. But deep down inside, that's how I felt. And obviously we saw what happened.
That's true. Now, before the 100th episode Extreme, we actually saw, I had to keep bringing this guy up, but we saw Greg Knight actually take out Night Terror to fully claim the entity. What were your thoughts on that?
You know, I wasn't at that episode. I didn't see it. I did hear about it. The only thing I can think of is Night Terror wasn't able to get the job done at Bloodshot. Greg Knight knows this. I think that might have upset him a little bit, and like said, with Crow and Sid and all these other goons that Greg Knight had following him around. I mean, he's basically able to command his little army, and I think that Night Terror was the only one in that group at this point that could have had a power struggle with Greg. So, personally, I think he got rid of Night Terror just because he doesn't want any competition inside the entity. I mean, Enigma's a powerhouse. I got to give that guy credit too. He's done a lot of things in a short amount of time, but I still think that at this point in time, he's a follower along with Bo and along with Sin. And Greg Knight knows that, and he's taking that to his advantage. Getting rid of Night Terror was only the first step. I mean, what's going to happen from here, I couldn't tell you, but I think that's why he got rid of Greg Knight. I'm sorry, I think that's why Greg Knight got rid of Night Terror. Just fully shift the power on his side.
All right. Well, my next question, actually, I'm sorry to keep bringing up the Capitalist or the Entity, but that seems to be a big thing going on right now in CWA is one of those two groups. The Capitalist wants you. We all know this. At Gold Rush, there's going to be a 5-on-5 match, which I'm assuming the Capitalists are on one side, and you're going to be on RBK's side on the other, right?
That's what it's looking like. I mean, I don't know how many participants are actually in this match, but a traditional Survivor-style match, that's what this sounds like. If you had 5-on-5 or 4-on-4, one of the two.
All right. So, since it's you and RBK, because RBK said he's getting in the ring too, and your opinion has a lot of sway with him, who would you want on your team to go against the Capitalists?
You know what? To be totally honest with you, I really have no idea. At this point, I don't even know who I could trust or who would trust me. You know, I even thought the other day when I was at Bloodshot, a few people I might be able to rely on to watch my back. You know, just throwing out names here. Cornfed Kenny. Cornfed Kenny was a guy that I thought I could trust, and as far as I know, he's gone. And you got a returning Jeff Steeples, but my whole thing with that is Steeples at one point was in cahoots with Tony Taylor. So, I mean, to be honest with you, Dan, I don't know. My answer is I don't know. I don't know who I can
Okay.
trust.
So we're gonna do the quick word association thing here, and of course, I'm gonna have to lead off with your thoughts on RBK so far.
Okay.
Like, let's face it. Ever since he made Greg Knight the commissioner and he unmasked the Maximum Carnage, it's kind of been a downhill slope for him. What's your thoughts with RBK right now? Should he take a break? Should he just leave? Is he doing what you think he should be doing? Or?
Well, I don't think RBK should leave just yet, because if he does, I think he's just kind of leaving a problem to try to solve itself. And we all know that problems around there don't solve themselves. There is definitely a power struggle between not only Greg Knight, which we've mentioned, but Tony Taylor being the director of operations in RBK. So, I mean, technically, anytime Tony's in the building, he's going to override anything that anybody else says. And when RBK's there and Tony's there, they have their little struggles. You know, you've seen it. You've watched it. I don't see RBK taking any time off until he finally puts a stop to all this, because it's been going on for a long time. Perhaps after it's all said and done, whether RBK steps down or Tony or, Greg Knight, maybe he'll take some time off then. But personally, and I've had this conversation with RBK in the back, I think that he should transition more of his focus to inside the ring. His heart and soul is inside that ring. I mean, ever since and we touched on this, the very first edition of Extreme, there was a couple of clips. RBK officially retired at the very first edition of Extreme, which was back in 2012. But ever since then, you've seen him inside the ring. You've seen him hold championship belts. I mean, the guy beat me for the CWA title. He's got a last ride in him, and I think that he should ride that out. And I've talked to him about that, and I think he's actually going to take me up on that offer. And you might see him in the ring more this 2015 season. So no, I don't think he should go away. I think he should get a little bit more involved, maybe a little bit more physically involved.
All right. You mentioned the power struggle between Tony, RBK, and Greg Knight. You got the commissioner, you got the CEO, and whatever long-ass title Tony wants to call himself this week. When those three actually come to head, who do you see coming out on top? Not hopefully, but who do you see coming out on top?
Well, to be honest, I don't know. I mean, you got Greg with the entity behind him. I mean, they're there to watch his back, make sure that he gets what he needs. And now you've seen recently that him and Tony Taylor are in a line.
Yeah, that's a shaky alliance. I mean, eventually the entity's going to want gold, and the capitalists have all the gold. That's eventually going to come to head.
Right. You know what? And that's another question I really don't have an answer for. I mean, the odds are definitely stacked against RBK, but again, the odds have been stacked against RBK before.
That's true.
I mean, I hate to say it, but I think Tony has a full deck that he's playing with at this point. So I'd have to say Tony, even though I don't want to. I mean, it is what it is.
So it's going to be something pretty big or extreme to flip the deck. Is what you're saying?
Yeah, either that or, you know, I'm just biding my time. You know, a lot of people were asking me why I didn't join the Capitalists, and you know, the Capitalists, I did my time with them. It was a good group, but there's a lot of problems with those types of groups, and you've seen it happen before. Everybody gets power hungry, and there's a struggle that happens from the inside, and they usually fall apart. And I'm just waiting for that to happen again, because mark my word, it will. You got 6 or 7 guys running around there with all CWE's gold, and everybody's going to get hungry. Someone's going to want a piece of that gold, especially from the inside. You think, you know, you look at Lethal. You think Lethal's happy walking around with just half the tag team titles, and then, you know, granted, he's got the internet title now, but he wants the big one. He wants that CWA title, and he hasn't been able to obtain that yet. Eventually, it's going to get to his head.
Yeah, he's never been able to capitalize on that one.
Right. Same thing with Wolf Cage. I mean, the whole group. You got a returning, you know, Ezekiel Cranston. What's his motive? Why is he there? You know, no one sat down and talked to him. You have no idea what he's all about. Is he just a mouthpiece, or is he there for a bigger purpose?
I don't even know if he's a mouthpiece, because sometimes we see him, he doesn't even have a mic in his hand. He's just there. I don't know. Maybe I should try to get him on the podcast in a future episode. I don't know. So what is the future for Micheal Andrews right now? What are you trying to do in CWA right now?
Health, breathing, you know, as it pertains to health and all that. I'm trying to stay healthy. I've been in some brutal matches. I mean, this match with Greg Knight really took its toll on me. I'm still recuperating, and I think that's a lot of guys' problem there too. But honestly, I think I have one good run left. I'm gonna try to capitalize on that. And when that's all said and done, I might consider stepping back myself into some sort of an administrative role. Just try to do whatever I can to help out the CWA. Nobody wants the CWA to go away, myself especially. And it's getting very difficult to keep the CWA alive while I'm also participating inside the ring. So, personally, I think my little career here is dwindling down, but that's just my opinion. And, you know, things could change, but that's how I feel at this point.
Hey, maybe you could take the commissionership from Greg Knight and just become the Backstage Commissioner.
Like I said, anything's possible.
All right.
You said something about go ahead.
No, finish your thought, man.
You said something about word association. I wasn't sure if that's what we were discussing now, or...
Oh, yeah, I would just... Either it's just pretty much a scenario that's going on or a word that pops up, just the first thing that pops into your head. All right. June 6th is Gold Rush. What are your feelings on that? Because right now we know that the Golden Opportunity has been reinstated. Little T did that at the 100th episode. What are your thoughts?
Obviously, Gold Rush is our biggest show of the year. It's been said numerous times. We try to outdo ourselves every year. I think that we have. We've only had 2 of them so far. Golden Opportunity is a great match. You put 7 or 8 or 9 or 10 or however many guys in there fighting for this briefcase that ultimately gives them a championship shot at any given time. We saw last year Chi-Town cashed it in against Jeff Steeples successfully. I mean, it just goes to show you somebody that small can capitalize on somebody that big with the help of that case. And looking forward to it. Personally, I don't think I need to be involved in that match. I think I have bigger fish to fry at this point. But it's going to be a great match for a lot of these newcomers. I mean, I can potentially see, Franklin Colt in that match, or even an Aaron Stone. I mean, you got some good competition, and like I said, everybody wants to hold that big one, and that might be the only way we're going to get that belt out of the capitalist hands too. So a lot of guys should keep that in mind when they want to throw their name in that pot.
That's a good way of putting it. Also, we have Darren Stryker putting his gold up. All titles are on the line at Gold Rush, correct?
I believe so, yes.
All right.
That usually works.
Well, all right. You got Darren Stryker, you got Wolf Cage, you got Lethal, you got all these guys from the Capitalists that are holding the belt. The last contender that we knew for Wolf Cage's Second City title was Kenny, and he retired at Bloodshed. Fortunately, I wasn't there for that, but I heard it was a very emotional moment for everybody.
Well, it was, but it wasn't. Personally, I think it was done wrong. Nobody knew about it, and I think that the attention was taken away from Cornfed when we were going into our next matchup. So, personally, I think Kenny should come out and do it right, but again, that's just my opinion. I mean, the guy talked about retiring before. He attempted to retire on a good note and was attacked by the Dark Entity. So I think he should, if he listens to this, I think he should take that into consideration and actually save a date to come in and do it the right way. Let us give him the send-off that he deserves, But go ahead.
All right. My question was, I don't think there's a number one contender that have been announced for any of the titles, except for, I believe, maybe the heavyweight. Who would you like to see go against Wolf Cage for that Second City title?
Oh, man. Again, kind of put me on the spot here. I don't know. I mean, Cornfed had a nice little run with it, and then it was cut short by Wolf Cage. And moving forward, I really don't know, because you got to remember that Wolf Cage also holds the tag belt, but it seems like there's been a lot stirring up in that tag division. I might not even comment on that. We might not even see I know all the titles are supposed to be on the line, but I mean, unless RBK is going to completely be a jagoff, which I can honestly see him doing, and I would laugh if this happens, but that Second City and even the Internet title might not be on the line at Gold Rush. Tony Taylor might say something about that. Personally, I'd love to see both of those guys in two separate matches, because that would be better for us.
Yeah, I mean, they go into one match tired, there's a bigger chance of them losing the belt, right?
Yeah, so, I mean, I really don't know. But I can tell you this, if no one's going to step up to take that Second City title away from Wolf Cage, I'll throw my name in that hat.
Yeah. All right, we might see Andrews with a Second City run, huh? All right.
Like I said, I said it before, I'll say it again, anything's possible.
All right, well, we really don't know many of the matches for Gold Rush, so I can't really ask you your predictions for Gold Rush coming up. But I can see that we are running up close on time, so I want to thank you for jumping on my podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Big Dan Dangerous. Once again, coming to you from the Danger Zone, this was Micheal Andrews. Don't forget, June 6th, Gold Rush. Be there. Also, Illinois will be playing. He's a DJ from, Illinois. All right, guys. Thank you so much for coming. See you next time on the Danger Zone.